see you guys in the comment section, and I will... Right. It's time for the 4th video. I don't consider live streams, by the way, to be videos. But what's interesting, like, the Germans, well, the Nazis, did not believe in quality, and it's easy to prove. Like, if you had a person that would be a good politician, right, like a good fit for the party, and he didn't have the correct heritage, do you think the Nazis would have hired him, even if he had the quality? Like, the whole stuff of Kristallnacht and other Nazi oppressions, they didn't care. It's like, oh, well, this Jewish store actually sells pretty good merchandise. We should leave it alone because it's good quality. No! Right? Like, the Nazis were obsessed with race. They weren't obsessed with quality. That is, like, the most bizarre thing that you can say. I guess, like, you need to live on Twitter. Live and breathe Twitter. Thank you for the raid, lack of entertainment. I do appreciate it. Maybe I need to explain it in World War II references, right? Like, when you talk with the person on Twitter, this seems to be the way. As I mentioned, it's World War II and Marvel references, but now it seems to be Barbie references too, right? Like, so if you talk about Kenism, Barbieism, hello Higgins, then they understand. Hello aristocratic utensil. To him it was about race. Yeah, but like, when you say quality, right? Like, quality is part of capitalism. Like, if I have a business right now, and I want to hire a good artist to draw for my video game, I don't care the heritage of the artist. I don't care, like, the only thing that I care is how old he is, like, if he's over 18, and then I care about, can he draw? That's it, you know? Like, I don't care if, like, so, like, if a Romanian artist would come to me, and then an American artist would come to me, and the American artist would be much better than the Romanian one, I wouldn't hire the Romanian one, because I want to make money. I'm interested in the value that they bring, right? So, like, the Romanian artist can apply later when he improves his skill. It's so simple. I generally don't even know why this is controversial. Meanwhile, left-leaning people, the modern left, don't think like this. The modern left, if they have like a comic book industry and they want to hire someone, the first thing they do is they look at their Twitter. And they're like, okay, well, this artist is clearly better, but like, let's look at his Twitter and let's see if he had any spicy takes, if he had any bad jokes. And after that, they look at his heritage. It's like, oh, well, you know, like another woman applied. Now she's a shit artist, but we need to fit the quota. The holy percentage requires filling. Right? That's why the left doesn't believe about quality. Now, I don't think they believe in equality either. They believe in equity. Right? So if you actually look at what they're saying now, they're saying that, well, even if things would be equal, so like, let's say they're promoting inclusivity based on gender, right? And they manage to have like 50% women and 50% men. They will say, no, actually we should hire even more women because it makes up for historic injustices. Now, this is not my fault that people don't read the fucking literature, but as, you know, he pointed out, this is not 2014 anymore. Like, this literature is not esoteric. Like, there have been YouTube videos made about this, there have been articles written about this. Like, the people doing this have done TED Talks and admit to doing this. Like, there is no more hidden agenda or anything like that. Like, it's not my fault if you're not educated. Like, literally, the Tumblr saying, it's not my job to educate you, is now something that I'm going to say. It's a good saying, apparently. It's something that I should say more often. You tell him, V, regards from Belgium. Thank you. I also saw the super chat on the other channel and I didn't manage to respond to you. For the brain cells lost, debating GSG and Dev. The thing with Dev, like, I actually like debating him, but it was getting very late. It was like 3 a.m. and I do need to go to bed because my wife gets upset. As for GSG, I do not have ill will against him, believe it or not. I do find it entertaining. I don't really think that I can call it a debate simply because he doesn't understand the ideology that he's talking about. Like, he wants to defend left-leaning thought and attack right-wing thought, but he doesn't even know what right-wing and left-leaning is. I'm actually curious, like, if I were to ask him for a definition of what a left-leaning person is and what a right-wing person is, if you actually would know how to answer. Chances are he may, but I would be surprised if he does. Oh my god, like so many YouTubers are making videos about this. Jesus. Aiden Paladin made a video about this. Ace 1918 made a video about this. A lot of people keep telling me that just some guy got into trouble for defending certain pillars of the community that were part of the San Francisco choir. I don't give a shit. I don't care who he defends and what he does in his free time. All I care is that he came at me and I just wanted to make a video response. See, unlike him, I don't do ad hominems. I don't go back into the past. I don't do the offense necromancy type. Is he going to defend the people that attacked Kyle Rittenhouse, I wonder? Communism didn't lose. It's in China. No, see, like, the thing with China is that it stopped being communist. Like, that's how it managed to survive. Otherwise, it would have ended up like North Korea. China is not a communist state. China is more of a fascist state than a communist one. They still they still call themselves the Communist Party. They still call themselves Communist China, but they're not communist. They literally had to open their markets, and basically, like, it allows people to have their own private property and private business. Like this is the difference between communism and let's say actually fascism or Nazism. Actually, like, China is more close to Nazism, but anyway, from an economic standpoint, I mean, not from the. But actually, you know, with the Uyghur population and stuff, maybe you can make the racial argument as well. The way it works in China is that you can. So first of all, in the Soviet Union, right, where you have communism, and in other states like mine, you wouldn't be able to have your private owned business. Like if I was in the Soviet Union, I couldn't open my own restaurant. The only way you could work is you could work for the government, and the government did central planning. So the government would look at a city and it would decide, okay, well, this city needs 20 restaurants. So then you would apply to the government and the government would give you a job at one of these restaurants, but you wouldn't own it. So that's what socialism is. The reason it fails is because it relies on central planning. And you, like, when you try to micromanage every aspect of the society, you're bound to fail. Like, you're not as efficient as the private sector. But anyway, right, that's what the communists did. The Nazis and the fascists operated it differently. Like, they would allow you to start your own restaurant. But the moment the government would say that it needs your resources or that it wants to micromanage how you do business, it could intervene. It's kind of like Mass Effect 2, where Harbinger, like, assumes control over a minion. You know, it's kind of like that. So, you know, in China, it depends, like, what type of business you have. Like, if you have a restaurant, the government probably won't intervene unless it talks about COVID and shit. But, like, if you have a factory, then the government will most likely intervene. And it will say, okay, you're allowed to sell for this amount. You have to hire this amount of people, right? Like technically, it's your company. You can make a profit, but the government can micromanage it at any point. And sometimes it can micromanage it into bankruptcy. Other times, it can even kick you out, right? Like, you can create your factory, it's yours, but then the government just kicks you out and puts someone else in charge. It can do pretty much everything, right? But that's not a socialist system. Because basically it uses, like, the free economy, it uses the private economy that the United States has, with the caveat that at any point the government can step in. Hello, V. Just Some Guy response video to Bukake Bagalu. If Just Some Guy talks to me, his response would be, I'm not black, but genetically I am more than him because one and a half. I don't even know, like, did the racial thing even got brought up? Haven't you ever been to China? No. But I did study a little bit about Chinese economy and a little bit about Chinese history. I will say it is socialist or collectivist. Yeah, but that doesn't, like, fascism is collectivism, right? And you could make the argument that both fascism and Nazism are offshoots of socialism. They're not socialism, but they're, like, kind of like when you have, like, the family of cats, you know, and you have the house cat, and you have the tiger, and you have the lion, and you have the puma. Like, they're different animals, but you can trace it back to the feline species. Aiden Paladin is tired. Oh, I see. Anyway, right, let's listen to more of his video because he made 20 minutes of it. Like, I didn't manage to watch all of it, and I didn't want to have, like, a 2-hour long video on my secondary channel, so let me know if the sound is okay.
we learned from the insanity of 20th century Europe is to never let that happen again. So when someone starts talking the same, these people don't have any equality bullshit.
His channel is dead? I don't think his channel is dead. I don't want his channel to die, by the way. I also like when edgelords attack. Dude, you came after me. I didn't do nothing. You literally went after me with like foaming at the mouth on Twitter. I made the post. You're the one that... Oh, and don't give me the bullshit. It's like, oh, well, I quote tweeted you. Okay, well, then I made a YouTube video, you know? I didn't respond to you. Would that be unfair? No, that wouldn't be fair.
Only response we should have is, hey, shut that shit down. Because
there's echo? Alright, I see.
Already know where that goes. And the last time I checked, the people who think like you lost.
If you look at human history, most of Europe were doing some offshoot of Marxism. I will explain what Marxism is to
valuing quality people. I gave century Europe is what happens when someone plays out your dumbass idea that all men are equal. You know, that thing you disagree with, and then proceeded to completely...
I think this is where we left off.
Completely contradict that ideology so we could oppress, enslave, and kill people as a means of gaining and maintaining wealth. Or as you would say, proceeded to be based. Now, I could go on...
I don't think I ever used the word based. I don't use that word. Did you guys ever hear me use the word based?
On about the racial and civil rights battles fought in the US, but we have so many corners of your ignorant argument to explore. So I'll just say that my black ass knows a hell of a lot more about the racial history of the United States than you.
Why though? Like why would the race play a thing? Like when you learn about history, you read it from a book, right? Like why would you make the assumption that just because you're a different race, you have more knowledge of history than me? Like, did you read it from different books? Like, do you have a different way of passing the knowledge that I am not privy of? Like, how do you do it? Like, is it something akin to, like, your heritage and family tree of, like, passing knowledge that kind of eludes me from here in Romania? I mean, if that is the case, like, if we're making this argument that you know more about American history, well, then clearly I know more about European history because I'm from fucking Europe, right? I would know more about Marxist history because my country has it, and therefore, you know, like, I will always know more about it than you do, even if you were to pick up a book and read about it. Which, by the way, I have big press X to doubt that you actually ever read anything about either Marxism or Nazism or fascism or capitalism. I mean, it's possible you did, but again, like, I would be shocked if you know the difference between fascism and Nazism. I would be shocked, like, literally, from what you've said so far.
So you might want to drop that one, son.
So I point out, like, if you want to cherry pick extremes, we can look at the Great Leap Forward. This is what the communists did.
No, it's not cherry picking extremes.
You're literally cherry picking extremes. Like any right winger you consider to be a Nazi. If anyone, like, if the statement is right wingers believe in equality, and you immediately join the train of thought saying that, oh, so you must be a Nazi then, yeah, that's cherry picking extremes. Like, literally. If you don't think this is cherry picking extremes, then I would really be interested in an example where you do cherry pick an extreme.
The moment you implement this idea that one group has more value as human beings than another, that opens up the door to the mistreatment of those you consider to be worth less.
No, that's literally not the case. I mean, if that was the case throughout the entire medieval time period, you should see mass genocides happening everywhere because every single country believed that the aristocracy is worth more than the peasantry. Like this was the standard throughout the entire human race. I think, like, only in the last hundreds of years or so, like, do we see nations coming out and disagreeing with this take. But even since antiquity, and all the way up until now, you have the exact same take. It's like, no, like, every society has, like, the aristocracy. Those people are better than everyone else. And then you have the peasantry and the lowborn. But even then, you know, right now in the United States, you have a racial hierarchy. For some reason, you don't notice that belongs to the left. They literally pass a legislation, and they're talking about how, okay, well, we need to have, like, more Oscars going to black people. Just like flat out racial discrimination, right? It's not like Oscars should go to, like, upstarting actors, Oscars should go to poor people, Oscars should... No. Like, flat out racial characteristic. And the US president came out and he said that the next place on the Supreme Court of the United States needs to go to a black woman, right? So you as a black man was discriminated from that position. You could have been the best judge in the United States. You could have been the next Clarence Thomas, which I'm pretty sure you may not appreciate as much. But you could have been like the best judge, but because you weren't a woman, you wouldn't have gotten the position. Is that valuing quality to you? Is that not discriminatory? Is that not what the Nazis would have done? Like, the Nazis would have done the same. The Nazis, if they would have had like a position for a judge, and the Jewish person happened to be like the best judge in the land, do you think the Nazis would have hired him based on quality? Of course not. But anyway, as I mentioned before, you should read these ideologies before commenting on them.
You're welcome to give me an example of a society where that didn't happen. My ears are perked.
There is no such thing, by the way. Like, in society where discrimination doesn't happen is a ridiculous standard. If you want to contradict me, give me an example of whatever ideology you want of a society where discrimination and prejudice never took place. I'm willing to listen. I don't think it exists on the planet Earth. I don't think like human beings are capable of creating such a society. But I am willing to listen to ideas. I can say, however, that a society that values quality has less discrimination than a society that values equality or equity. Like, I can make that argument hands down.
That said, I want to point out that in your live stream, you said that you would never mention gulags and such in any argument, and yet here you are talking about communism. This is what conservatives do whenever...
My brother in Christ, the left believes in equality. That is a Marxist belief. Now, because I said it on Twitter, and it had a word limit, even with Twitter Blue, it's best to keep ideas short. You didn't ask me to elaborate at any point. Equality is a far left concept. Like, to consider people equal, or to try to enforce equality, is tyrannical. Like, imagine if YouTube would consider you equal with another YouTuber that only has like 10 subscribers. And it would take your revenue and share it with the other guy that only has 10 subscribers. Because, well, you're both YouTubers, you should both be equal. You probably wouldn't like that. You don't treat people as equal. I already made this claim in the other video that I made. You don't consider me to be as equal to your close friends, and you shouldn't. Human beings do not treat based on equality. The United States ideology does not function on equality either. The one that we talked about, the one from World War II, functions on liberty. Like, people have a right to pursue happiness. In other words, it's a meritocracy. So, people should be able to do whatever they want to do. And it turns out that when the United States allows people to do what they want to do, they don't end up being fascist, they don't end up being Nazis, and they don't end up being communists. They actually end up being as a free and just society. Now, you may say, well, actually, America isn't free and just because it had all these other historical shit. Yeah, but like compared to other nations, because we're not comparing it to like fictional La La Land, we're comparing it to other countries, America has far, far fewer human atrocities committed within its borders than many other countries around the world. I mean, I'm not even going to bring like communist countries like China and Russia and other places. Like, even today, within the United States, there are less atrocities that are happening than you have places like Africa, India. But, you know, like, I guess when you only know your history, assuming that you do even know your own history, and you don't have like any other countries to compare it with, it may look horrible. Because every country and every history is made by human beings, and human beings are flawed. And you are going to have various, you know, like things that happen. But like, if you look at the Tiananmen Square in China, I don't think America even has, like, remotely has such a thing happening there within its recent history. Of course, you know, like, America did a lot of shit. You can talk about the genocide that the United States did against the native population, but there's a lot more to unpack there. And again, it's important to judge people from their time period that they lived in, right? So it's not the same way it's not fair to judge a caveman for not using penicillin when he is sick, or not using electricity to light up his cave, right? Because they don't have the technology. The same thing is not okay to judge a caveman through our morals. Because, like, in order to reach a level of morality to where we are now, it's like the same way as reaching the technology. Like, you need building blocks upon building blocks and so forth. So my point is, like, when America, well, the Europeans colonized the United States, you should judge their morality compared to the other people around the world that lived then. And I gotta say, like, the Brits compared to the Spanish Empire, oh my god, like, I would rather be colonized by the Brits than by the Spaniards. You also need to look at what the natives in the United States did, right? Sorry, in America did. I mean, what the Aztecs would do compared to what the Europeans did, there's no wonder that most of the tribes allied against the Aztecs the moment the Europeans arrived. But anyway, right, like, I guess I need to simplify this with World War II analogies, because if I go a little bit too much in depth and we have too many shades of gray and we go too deep into the historical lore, then I don't know if I can still have you listen to me. Hold on, I got a super chat. This is actually laughable. For him to make the statement on ethnic knowledge due to where and who you are is being disingenuous. Again, just a guy is proving to others that you don't read, but give state-sponsored grieving talking points. I don't think it's not necessarily state-sponsored, but it's like, you know, like pop culture talking points, like, and buzzwords. It's like, oh, well, the World War II, yes, never again, the Nazis, okay, sure.
Anyone criticizes them, as if that makes their bad ideas less bad. It doesn't. It just makes you look stupid because it's just a half-assed attempt to dodge the criticism of your argument. If you had anything to address the criticism, like evidence that what you're suggesting isn't remarkably similar to the craziness that spread across early 20th century Europe, you'd have presented it, but you don't. So you go back to the typical right...
No, the thing is, like, the left looks at human nature and says, well, this is unacceptable. And I'm like, no, it's not unacceptable. Again, like you're asking me to give you an example of a society that doesn't have discrimination or prejudice. There isn't any. Like, seriously, like, throughout human history, various cultures, various time periods, what you're asking for doesn't exist. But you're like, oh, well, show me a society that uses equality and doesn't have these things. And my answer is, like, any society using any type of ideology doesn't have these things.
Wing response of waving around communism like it's some sort of Jedi mind trick. That doesn't work on me because I don't...
Yeah, but like, you're literally using Nazis as if it's a Jedi mind trick, and it doesn't work on me because, let's hear your argument.
Support communism and would never defend it.
Okay, yeah. I don't support Nazism and I would never defend it. And yet you're using it as a mind trick on me. While trying to say, well, actually, equality, good. Equality, good. No, equality is not good. Horrible.
Wasting your time, but not mine. I will have it...
Exactly what he is saying is my response to him.
Know that I am not a one-minute man. We ain't even past foreplay.
What the hell is that? I am not a 1 minute man, and we haven't even passed foreplay. What type of... That is deep. No, like, so hold on. Like, that is philosophical. No, that is philosophical. I am not a 1 minute man, and we have not passed foreplay. I should tell that to my wife. When I go into the bedroom to do the ushikushi, I will be like, baby, I am not a 1 minute man, and we have not even passed foreplay. Should I do this, chat? Do you guys do this with your woman? See the Rainbow Nation for just how GSG ideology would end up. I'm not... Yeah, I mean, it's just as disingenuous to suggest that because you have a statement, that clearly the most extreme thing can happen because of your statement. Natives amiss went extinct after contact with Europe? Well, a lot of natives also died due to the diseases that Europeans carried, right? Because they didn't have immunity. Europeans used to live in very concentrated cities with animal husbandry, right? So they managed to get a lot of immunity to many diseases that animals would carry. So when they colonized the New World, the indigenous population there didn't have animal husbandry to the extent that the Europeans did, and also didn't live in such concentrated cities except for like a couple of them. But basically, like, a lot of them got sick just by having like friendly contact with the Europeans. So that's also a talking point, but anyway. He wants to call you my squeaky toy. I'm sorry if he wants to do that. I'm a married man. You talk about left wing, right wing. It's unfair to say, oh, you want equality? You want the gulags. You want forced labor. This is a good point, right? Like, this is literally what he does. It's like the moment someone talks about equality, I should say you want gulags. Which, by the way, ironically, I do believe. Like, you cannot have enforced equality without having the gulags. Like, they're a necessary... And by the way, like, even the Marxist ideologues, like Kropotnik and many others, they actually do mention that this is necessary. Antifa literally has a saying. You can't have an omelet without cracking a few eggs. Like, it's literally baked in their ideology. The United States doesn't have genocide baked into their constitution. Neither the founding fathers. Like, they don't mention this thing. They don't think that it's necessary to oppress people in order to fulfill the American dream. But you do have, like, socialists literally believing in this. Like, they will flat out admit, yes, some people have to be oppressed. And it's for the greater good. I mean, they even call it the revolution. And then they will say that the revolution is for the people, and if you disagree with it, you're an enemy of the people. And actually, you can look at offshots of socialist mindset, like for example, feminism. They all have a name for the person that's against the ideology, that's against the activism. So for feminists, it's internalized patriarchy or internalized misogyny. For ideologies built on race, they will call you a race traitor. They actually did call a race traitor to, what was his name? That rapper guy that was friends with Donald Trump and then went completely crazy, that even Alex Jones was shocked. Kanye West, right? Like, they called him a race traitor. Almost any other black person that goes against the grain. They even went very upset at Cardi B when she started doubting the mandates and shit. Like, this is, when you have ideologies that actually do believe that there is an us versus them. And if you don't believe what the activist tells you, and you don't parrot the exact same talking points like the activist, then you're an enemy of the people, and they even have names for that.
And yet that's literally been your entire counter-argument to the straw leftist you concocted in...
Hold on. Yeah, the Cuban government tried equality and almost got my grandparents killed. The more equality you have, the more death and slavery you get somehow. But it's normal. Like again, if you want equality, you can't get the little person to be as good as the big person, right? So like, for example, if you have like a person that's really bad at mathematics, you're never going to get them to be as good as Albert Einstein. But you can get Albert Einstein to stop being good at mathematics. Like, you force him to. You tell Albert Einstein, look, if you solve another equation again, you're going to go to the gulag. And all of a sudden, you see that Albert Einstein goes like, okay, well, I'll stop doing this. And if he doesn't, then you send him to the gulag. And that's how you make everyone equal. You can't bring everyone to Albert Einstein's level. It's impossible. He is proposing a Harrison-Berrigan reality where the qualified are weighed down to make the less qualified feel better about themselves. Yeah, literally. This is what I'm trying to explain, but you said it in a very philosophical and smart manner.
In your head. Here's what you said in your other video.
So, like, forcing people to be equal is tyrannical, is wrong, is reprehensible. Yes, I 100% agree with this.
It's just straight up baby's first conservatism. You have no idea what you're talking about.
What do you mean I have no idea what I'm talking about? Like, literally, I can use your argument. I was born in Europe. Therefore, I know better, because through my heritage, my ancestors experienced it. My ancestors experienced equality, and therefore I know what I'm talking about better than you.
You're just repeating whatever you read on right-wing Twitter, like some...
I don't even think that is a right-wing Twitter. Is that a right-wing Twitter? And do they actually give talking points? Like, who's a right-wing Twitter? Mundane Matt? No, unironically, like, I do not follow right-wing... Do you know why I go on Twitter? Do you know, just some guy, do you know what I do? I go there to kum. I follow Japanese art. I am the kumer. Just some guy. You hear someone masturbating, you think of something. No, you think of me. I am the one that kums. That's why I'm on Twitter. Unironically. This is my life. This is what I do. Well, and I also laugh at people that are trying to remove the kumerism from my art. See, you thought that my life is complicated. You thought that I'm actually like trying to rally up a crowd and I'm like leading the right-wingers into bad. No, I'm more simple than that. It's not very complicated. Like, for example, I made a tweet being upset that my Ushikushi ladies are being removed from Mortal Kombat. And someone called me a Khmer, and I felt insulted because they thought that I'm an average Khmer. I'm not an average Khmer. I am the Khmer above all. Like, on top of every Khmer, there is one Khmer. I am behind that Khmer. That's what I do on Twitter. I'm not like leading political rallies. I'm not like trying to start the Third Reich or anything. If anything, like the Third Reich would hate me. Because I'm Khmer. Did you guys not know that? Jesus. Imagine that. I go on Twitter, on right-wing Twitter, in order to get talking points. Like, that is the most hilarious thing. Yes, I am the Khmer Supreme.
Convict who read Malcolm X's biography in prison and thinks that makes him an expert on the white man. Address the...
Wait, what? Nani?
You're just repeating whatever you read on right-wing Twitter, like some convict who read Malcolm X's biography in prison and thinks that makes him an expert on the white man.
Malcolm X actually had some very interesting takes about liberals. I actually do agree with many of Malcolm X's teachings, by the way. That surprised you, didn't it? You know what I read Malcolm X's teachings? Not on Twitter, I'll tell you that. Definitely not on right-wing Twitter. Do you feel like right-wingers would like Malcolm X? I kind of like Malcolm X. You know, he was very charismatic. I feel like between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, like there was a huge disservice done by the mainstream media at the time for refusing to cover Malcolm X. Like, don't get me wrong, Martin Luther King said a lot of interesting stuff too. And before you go like, oh my god, you're supporting Malcolm. No, I'm saying that his stuff is interesting to read. And I don't agree with all of it. But some of it was interesting. Like when he calls liberals a fox. And he smiles. He gets like this big Cheshire grin at the camera. And he says like, you know, like the Republicans, they're like the wolf. But like when you see the wolf coming, you know to defend yourself. But the liberal is like a fox. It's smiling at you. And you let your guard down. Is this why I don't like Malcolm X? Huh? Do you know who else has interesting things to say and actually had the interesting life? Muhammad Ali. Did you want me to tell you about Muhammad Ali? Oh my god. Does the media talk about him? Like, apparently they don't want to say that he had an interesting late life, right? Like, in his early life. So actually, his real name wasn't Muhammad Ali. But, like, there was this thing in the US at the time. It was called the Nation of Islam. I didn't learn this from right-wing Twitter, by the way. There was, like, the Nation of Islam. And the Nation of Islam, apparently, is not like a Middle Eastern religion. It's kind of like, due to, like, during the Civil Rights era, a lot of African Americans, they didn't like Christianity anymore because they viewed it as the religion of the oppressor. So it's like, okay, well, if we don't do Christianity, what do we do? Oh, we're doing, okay, the Nation of Islam. So it's like the Middle Eastern Islam, the Sunni and the Shias and the Kurds do not recognize this as being an official Islamic faith, but it is very popular in the US. And usually when you convert it to that, you would assume the name. So anyway, Muhammad Ali, obviously, you know, very left-leaning, he said a lot of leftist things until he visited Africa, right? So he went into Africa, visited it, and when he came back, you know what he said? He was in his more golden years. He said, thank God for my grandfather going on that boat, right? Like, because he understands that because of the struggle that his grandfather experienced, he is now living a far better life in the United States than most people around the world. So, like, at least, and from that moment forward, he becomes very right-wing. And the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about his later life. But it's really interesting. Cries about right-wing talking points while using left-wing talking points. Not the only he thinks he is. I'm not even bothering pointing that out. Fresh Prince of Khmer, that's me. He was against, Malcolm X was against race mixing. I actually said some of his ideas were interesting. I'm not saying that all of his ideas were interesting or that everything he said is gospel. But what I am saying, and I gave the example with the liberal speech, and there are many others, where he made a lot of sense. And the mainstream media was like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about this one. Visiting Africa tends to do that. Yeah, I know. I mean, dude, like look at South Africa right now. Due to their policies, like, no one is forcing them to do this, but, like, by raising their ESG scores, and by having, like, race-based ideology, and they keep blaming everything on the white farmers and shit, they have to do load shedding. Like, they have to shut down electricity several times a day. And by the way, like, the problem would be easily fixed if they would allow private companies to go in there and provide electricity for the people, but they just flat out refuse because of corruption and government oversight. Khmerian flag proposal. That's a great flag proposal, but it looks French. He could have chosen a less generic name than Muhammad Ali. I don't know, like is the name generic because is the name generic when he chose it, or did the name become generic because many other people named themselves as such because of his talent? Like, Muhammad Ali in his prime was a sensation. Like, everyone knew his name, even people from outside the United States. Like, his fights were actually spectacular.
The arguments I actually made, not the retarded straw leftists in your head.
So, he goes on and again, like, says that the funny thing that you can have equality without genocide by valuing all people. So this is what I took a problem with. It's like, how can you value all people? Good question. How can you value all people? Obviously not, right? It's like, when you value everyone, you value no one. Like, you value your family more than you value your close circle of friends.
It's called an ideal, genius.
But I don't even want to live in that ideal. Like, that's a horrible ideal. Like, you're saying that the average person on the street that I meet, I should value the same like my mother? Like, you're saying that I should value you like my child? Like, that is an anti-human ideology. I'm sorry. You know, like, if you want to have it, that's great. You keep it. But I don't think, like, this ideal is even obtainable. My ideal is obtainable, valuing people based on quality, right? Now, your question, instead of going, oh, but Nazi, should be like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by quality? It's like, well, you know, people have different traits, different qualities, and you should hire the best person for the job. That's what I wanted to say on Twitter. I think, like, most people got what I wanted to say, right? Like, creating a society where every person's quality gets to be used, right? So, like, for example, your quality seems to be talking about entertainment. Talking about politics, not so much. So if I were to hire a political pundit, I probably wouldn't hire you. But if I were to hire an analyst in entertainment, well, you might just make the cut because you seem to have a quality for it. That's what it means, right? A person that values equality would see no difference between you and someone else who doesn't even understand what comic books are. And they would be like, well, we might as well, like, hire this guy because, like, they're all equal. Like, who cares? The philosophy of the ant people is basically equality, right? Like, all the ants are actually equal except for the queen bee.
Have you never heard of an ideal before? What, they don't have those in your country? The ideal of treating all people as equal is a thing we aspire to, and...
No. America aspires for liberty and freedom. Like, I'm sorry, read the Constitution. It does not aspire for equality. The only thing that it mentions is that all men are created equal. That's it. But it doesn't try to aspire to make men equal or to value every man the same. That's what communists do. That is an ideal for communism, right? This is why I keep saying, and you're like bewildered. It's like, V, why do you keep bringing up communism? This is the only ideology that values equality. No other ideology on earth values equality. Like, religious ideologies don't, theocratic ideologies don't, capitalist ideologies don't. Like, the only one, literally, throughout human history that even values equality as a goal is communism. There's no one else. I can't think of any. Right? Like, you have tribalism, that doesn't value equality. You got, even like if you go to a monarchical ideology, that doesn't value equality. Like, there's none. Literally none. And even like the American left doesn't value equality. They value equity now. Some guy is the best Lord of the Rings analysis. Yeah, like if I were to hire someone to do an analysis of Lord of the Rings, I would hire just some guy. Because he has the quality to analyze that shit. But like I wouldn't hire him so that I can get political takes from him.
And it is achievable if we do it.
No, it's not. Like, how many people need to die before you figure out that it's unachievable? Jesus. Look at history and how many other nations tried to achieve it. It is literally unachievable. I have explained why it's unachievable. Two brothers in the same household aren't equal. And it would be tyrannical if you tried to make them equal.
The problem is that we have people like you who always go, well, I shouldn't have to care.
This is literally why it's unachievable. Because there's always people like me, so now you have to deal with me. Right? And the problem is, like, people like me don't want to be dealt with, so you have to use force. Honest to God, it is remarkable how many times this repeats itself in human history. Like, you have the people who's like, all right, let's create equality. Oh, this person isn't on board with our decision. Let's deal with him. Let's start the gulags. America values liberty. You don't need to deal with people when you value liberty. Like, who do you deal with? Well, this person doesn't value liberty. Well, okay. Well, he's free. He has the liberty not to value it. And we have the liberty not to associate with him. And that's it. Right? Because you're not focused on making equality. But when you're focused on making equality, then you need to make sure that like there is no way for people to escape your ideology. Because as long as like someone isn't equal, then you're not obtaining your ideal.
We're about other people because we don't share the same DNA. Thing is, no one's asking you or any conservative to care about anyone. You are free, for instance, not to care about the scores of boys gangbanged by priests. What you're being...
Why do we keep hearing like this, like the scores of boys gangbanged by priests? I keep hearing like this as a zinger towards right-wingers. Like, first of all, when the Catholic Church scandal became a thing, as far as I know, every single right-winger was outraged. And it wasn't like an outrage just because, the priests are doing bad things. It's like, every single institution can have a rotten apple. The problem was that they were hiding it. So, like, they were doing it and they were moving the priests around rather than allowing the authorities to find out who did it. And then they would move the priest to another congregation where they would do it again, right? So, like, every single right-winger was up in arms. But given your internet history, just some guy, it is very interesting that you bring the priests to me. I'm just saying, I'm not bringing anything. Like, I got people in DMs telling me interesting stuff about you and showing me interesting clips, but I don't want to do the offense necromancy shit. Like, it would be very easy, like an easy victory, as you say. But I'm like, no, that's fine. I'll not bring it up. But it does seem interesting that you brought the priest. Also, another interesting fact. Do you know that there are more children molested in the education system than in churches? I mean, the number is colossal. Like, if you look at the statistic, it is colossal. And for some reason, we still talk about the churches, which everyone agrees that it is bad. I mean, the Pope itself agreed that it is bad, and they did investigations and stuff. So, you know, like, if you got any more evidence of scandals happening in churches, I will be the first that I'm willing to listen it out. But it is interesting that we live in the era of the Drag Kid Story Hour, the era of cooties on Netflix, and other interesting stuff. And for some reason, we still talk about the churches. Like, I'm willing to talk about the churches as much as you want, you know? Like, fine, let's discuss the churches. Demo, Shkushi, can we talk about the other things as well?
Asked to do is consider that those boys have the same intrinsic value as human beings as the people you do care about. Now, if you did that, there's a good chance...
Yeah, but like, the priests do not have the same value to me as the boys that they molest, okay? Like, this is what I'm trying to say. I do not want to hold those priests that are the molesters in the same standard as I am holding the people that get molested, right? I think that the priests should be imprisoned, ostracized from society, shamed, and condemned, while the boys that got hurt should be taken care of, right? Like, taken care of as in made sure that they get the psychological help that they need, that they manage to get rehabilitated from the trauma that they experienced. But you basically, but if you were to have an ideology where every human has value, you would have to, you know, if your ideal, because I understand it's an ideal, it's not like how we are treating people, it's how we should treat people. Okay, so if you want an ideal where everyone is treated equally, then yeah, I mean, we can actually see how that played out with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, where if you tried to defend Kyle Rittenhouse, you would get banned from social media. If you pointed out that the people that were chasing him got convicted for various abuses, and one of them, I think, was even a child molester. And at the same time, you know, like, people were saying, no, like, you should side with the arsonists. I don't think that's normal. I'm sorry, you know, like, we have a different culture here in Eastern Europe. We do not consider all people to have the same value. In different contexts, they do, but like, from a societal point of view, the priests that you gave as an example, no, they should be locked up. The only equality I want is the equal application of the law. Correct.
You might actually care about those boys. But even if you didn't care, you'd still think it was a bad idea to let those boys get gangbanged. And now...
See, again, like this, you know, he keeps accusing me of getting buzzwords from right-wing Twitter. But this is literally a buzzword from left-wing Twitter. Like, every right-wing person that I know was against the priest from the Catholic Church. How many people are in the chat? Let me just hold on to see how many people are listening to this. 461. Wow. I got a lot of viewers tonight. Do you guys know a single right-wing friend of yours? Like, ironically, you know, this is not a zinger or anything like that. Like, be honest. Do you know a single right-wing person that sided with the Catholic Church within the scandal? He is making a Christian argument that we are all inherently valuable to God. No, he's not. Because I already pointed out, like, in America, you say that you're created equal. But you are not. America doesn't say that people are equal, right? My take that he has a problem with is that leftists believe in equality and right-wingers believe in equality, and he concluded that I'm a Nazi because I believe this, right? This is where we went from. And as I can see, just looking at the chat, everyone believes that the priests were in the wrong. I can't find like a single person that even knows a single other right-winger that was defending the Catholic Church. Now, I will tell you this funny part. There are a lot of people that I know who were defending the public schools, public institutions, Netflix, so on and so forth.
That would be a better outcome than the current right-wing response of nothing to see here.
Like this is also... Yeah, again, this is just a leftist talking point. Like, not a single right-winger that I know was saying nothing to see here. A very easy thing to describe. Like, there's a burning building. Your mother is on the left, and your neighbor is on the right. You can only rescue one person. Who are you going to rescue?
Yeah, that's called a moral dilemma. And for normal, rational, ethical people, it poses a problem because they'd actually feel guilty about letting someone die who they could have saved. But
but it's a moral dilemma to show that you don't value all people equally, and that's fine. That was the moral dilemma. Yes, like you do feel bad for not being able to save both, but it is expected, like even society expects you to save your mother in that situation.
Ideologues like you, anyone not in your little care circle, their lives are forfeit. So
no, that's you basically ascribing shit. Again, this is what leftists do. Like they ascribe that they know what's in your head. No, literally, the moral dilemma that I set up is that you should feel bad that you can't rescue both people, but it is expected that you will rescue your mother. How do I know? Because this is how human beings function. Like, your family is more important than your circle of friends. Your circle of friends is more important than your neighborhood. Your neighborhood is more important than your city, so on and so forth. Like, the more distant it goes from one person, the less you will care about those people. That doesn't mean that you don't care at all, but it means that there is a hierarchy of caring, if that makes any sense. But again, like leftists, they look at humanity doing something and they will say, well, this is unacceptable. And when human beings are behaving in the correct manner, which is to save your mother, right? Like you will say, no, in an ideal, like the ideal is to have the same value for everybody. Like we want equality. So in your ideal scenario, the person wouldn't know who to save. Like the person would probably flip a coin and save the neighbor while leaving their mother in the burning building. Like, that is not normal. That would not create a healthy society.
If that other person were, say, a 5-year-old girl, well, for you, the choice is easy. You'd pick your mom.
I mean, it's not just me. Literally everyone would make this choice, right? Like, put yourself in the position of the mother. Like imagine if your son was to go and to save the neighbor's kid and leave you in the burning building. You'd probably wonder, like, where did I fail as a father?
A normal, rational, ethical person would understand that you love your mother, but you should save the girl.
No, like, literally no. Like, chat, what do you guys think, right? You got a burning building, and let's assume, like, your mother doesn't have, like, bad beef with you, you know? Like, it's not a... it's not a mother that did any abuse. Like, she's not an alcoholic parent or anything like that. You have, like, a normal relationship with your mother. Would you save anyone else besides her? Like literally everyone is saying mother every time. Yeah, and you know what? I bet that even just some guy would probably save his mom in this situation. It's not a hard choice because it's ingrained in the human psyche. Like, it's something that's at an instinctively level. It's something that it's at an instinctual level. Everyone says that family comes first. Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked. You know, so I don't know, like, if he's just saying this in order to get a zinger, or he is saying this in order to score some talking points. I genuinely, like, do not believe him. The only exception would be, like, either if you're, like, some sort of psychopath, or your mother has been abusive. Like, if you have an abusive mother, you know, like, she was an alcoholic, maybe she beats you up or something like that, then that may change the scenario. But no, either than that, every single person is going to go for the mother 100% of the time. And I will even tell you this, and this may shock you because it's based on real events. There are people who actually go for the dog. Like, if they have their own personal dog in a burning building, they would try to rescue that first before rescuing anyone else. This is what the left does, you know? They look at human nature and they say, well, this is unacceptable.
Jesus Christ, you are living in a delusion so magnificently structured, you'd think it was as up.
Dude, you're the one that says that you're not going to save the mom. I mean, I don't know which one of us lives in a delusion, but, like, how can we check it? Like, how can we objectively figure out which one of us is living in a delusion? Because I'm willing to bet that if we put it up to a poll, and I have my way, you'll say, well, just because people agree with you doesn't mean... Okay, if that's the case, how can you make the argument that I live in a delusion? Right? Because if I say you live in a delusion, well, you say, well, you can't prove it. But you're going to make the accusation that I do. I genuinely don't think I live in a delusion, by the way. Like, I think I'm spot on this. Like, every person is going to go for the family first before going for the neighbor.
signed by Tolkien's elves. What are you talking about? Some parts of human nature are unacceptable. It's unacceptable that people assault and kill each other.
Yeah, but like, when I say human nature, I don't mean like things that humans can do. I'm talking about things that humans do on a regular basis, right? So, like, for example, humans eating meat. The left will look, oh, that's unacceptable. You need to eat the bugs. You need to go vegan, right? So, like, they look at human nature as something that humans do on a regular basis across different societies, across different times, and the left says it's unacceptable. And I disagree with that. No, I don't think that's the case. To say that, well, humans assault. No. Actually, if you look at different societies and you look at different time periods, people who assault get punished. In every single human society. Like, you can't have a society which allows people to go around and assault others willy-nilly. So, it is actual human nature to punish people that do assaults.
It's unacceptable that people abuse their kids.
Yeah, almost every single society is against child abusers. And this, you will notice that it transcends even ideologies and languages. Like in China, it is unacceptable to be a child abuser. In Eastern Europe, it is unacceptable to be a child abuser. Now, sure, like there are conversations of what is and isn't child abuse. Like, for example, in Canada, misgendering your child is considered child abuse. But usually, like, it is human nature to be against child abusers.
It's unacceptable that people exploit each other, that they use the law and religion to control and abuse each other.
Again, like the thing with exploitation. It depends what various ideologies understand by exploitation. Because, again, I love to bring up the Marxists. The Marxist literally believes that if I were to hire a video editor, and I'm like, okay, so I have these videos, can you edit them for me? And I pay him, and he agrees. They believe that is exploitation. So, I guess, like, the definition of the words is what matters. But, like, human nature usually tries to not exploit people. At least the time period we live in. Like, if you go back in history, there's different reasons for why exploitation happens. Usually it's technological. I'm not going to go into that. But you're just describing human nature now. Like, all of the things that you're saying, well, don't exploit people, don't assault people, don't molest you. Yeah, like, every single society punishes that. Islamic societies punish that, Christian societies punish that, atheist societies punish that. You can't live in a society where you allow these things to happen.
Do you disagree? Dude, listen to yourself. You've fallen into a black hole of nuttery, a veritable cum dump of right-wing stupidity.
Oh, hold on. Did you say cum dump? Why are leftists so vulgar, man? A better way of starting it is things which humans cannot escape doing. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not bringing up Aiden because I'm not going to stream for long. But yes, it's like humans cannot escape doing that. That is a good way of pointing it out.
For the love of all that's holy, at least don't swallow.
Do leftists believe in holiness though? How many leftists are actually religious? I'm genuinely curious. I mean, there might be some, right? And like, when you say value, like, what exactly do you mean? Like, some people have value in certain aspects and others have more value in others.
Never mind. V, this isn't a difficult concept. Value just means someone's worth. So when you say that some people have more value than others, you're saying that some people are worth more or are more worthy than others. By supporting this idea, you're begging for people to discriminate, to prejudge.
Oh, fuck off. No, that's not true. Look, if Michelle Obama writes a book about her life, how many people will buy it? If you write a book about your life, how many people will buy it? And if a homeless man writes a book about his life, how many people will buy it? To even like just because I'm stating the obvious and I'm stating reality, I know it's upsetting you because it's not fulfilling your ideals of the perfect society, but I am actually right. Okay? Because people will value Michelle Obama much more than they value you. And people will value you and I differently. I think, like, literally, the best way is, like, writing a book about your life. And then you see how many people care about reading it. Like, that's how much society probably values you. Like, if Elon Musk writes a book about his life, how many people do you think will read it? Probably a lot. If Donald Trump writes about his life or AOC, a lot of people will read it. If I write a book about my life, no one will fucking care. I mean, maybe it gets a couple of sales, right? But like, there are objective ways you can actually measure how society thinks of you as a person. And then there are people that if they write a book about their life, Amazon would cancel it. They would not even sell that book. Because, you know, like, they consider those people to have such little value. For example, who runs the Daily Stormer? You know, like the far-right website. Like if that guy were to write a book about his life, Amazon wouldn't even publish it. Like, even if people would want to read it, then that wouldn't even appear, right? It wouldn't even be published. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sorry I'm talking about reality and not ideological constructs and, like, dream worlds. But, and not only that, right? Like, value can be measured differently. Like, for example, how many people would suffer if you were to pass away tomorrow? Like, you bring value in those people's lives. So, like, if you're a married man with children and you bring income to the household and you pass away in an accident and those people end up suffering, it's because you were bringing value into those people's lives.
And to oppress. The world is full of examples of this. Why would you support such an obviously bad idea? You have this narrative that you're so tied to that you're literally incapable of understanding any other argument.
What if just some guy releases a game in the same day I do? I don't know, is he making a video game? I don't even think like we're competing with each other.
I'm telling you that I think you want to judge people based on what social groups they belong to. Your response is to talk about jobs.
You're literally judging people whether they're a right winger or not. How can you project so hard? Like, I didn't even care you're a leftist. I'm not even judging you for being like, be leftivize as much as you want. It's like, but like, it's hilarious when you're judging people based on like being right wingers and you're immediately assuming that they're Nazis. And at the same time, you don't want people to judge others based on which groups they belong to.
I haven't seen anyone deep throat stupid arguments this much since Matt Walsh.
To claim. What do you have against Matt Walsh now? Matt Walsh doesn't even like my video game. He thinks it's satanic. Why do you put me and Matt Walsh in the same pot? What have I done? Why do I deserve to be placed next to Matt Walsh? He doesn't like anime. He's a bad person. That's how I can tell if you're a good person or a bad person. You don't like anime. Like, aren't you like everyone has value? Like, shouldn't you consider that Matt Walsh has value? Shouldn't you consider that yourself and Matt Walsh have the same value? Like, don't you want to live up to the ideal world that you want to create? You should consider that Matt Walsh and AOC have the same value. But for some reason, you don't like Matt Walsh. You use him as a negative characteristic. Using him as a negative comparison. I bet if you have a child, you'd be like, don't be like Matt Walsh. And you'd be like, why, Daddy? Why? Didn't you say we're all equal? Shut up. Just don't be like Matt Walsh. That all people has value is ridiculous. Right? It's literally to claim that we're like robots, that we're literally the same in every aspect. And we're not.
For the second time, equality doesn't mean every human being is exactly the same.
But I don't care your definition of equality. I genuinely don't. You're like a Christian trying to defend Christianity without reading the fucking Bible, honestly. Or like one of those left-leaning Muslims in Hollywood. You know, like they say they're Muslim, but they can't define what the 7 pillars of Islam are. It's kind of like that. And you're like, well, let me tell you about how leftism is. And you create a straw man of what leftist ideology is. Like AOC and Vosh and Hassan Piker and all the other like left-leaning talking heads, they do not agree with your take on what leftism is. Like you have created your own leftist ideology that you probably believe in yourself. And I don't even know like if it's coherent enough. But anyway, whatever. And are now like trying to lecture me about what leftism is. Like, I'm sorry, I reject your statements. Like, even if I were to ask you, like, what is leftism, I don't think you would be able to come up with a coherent definition.
And no rational person arguing for equality thinks it does.
See, that's the problem. Again, like, no rational person arguing for equality thinks it does. Read Karl Marx, read Engels, read Kropotnik, read Mao. Like, yeah, they literally believe in the new man, the socialist man. Like Google socialist propaganda from the USSR. Let me show you who the socialist man is. So when you say like nobody believes in this, you are completely ignoring entire nations that believed in this. By the way, recognize this symbol? Is it familiar? Do you recognize this? This little fist here. Have you seen it anywhere before? Is it something? Anyway, this is the socialist man right here. Right? Like they believe that the man of the future, the socialist man, is going to be equal. Right? They literally believe in equality taken to such an extreme. And by the way, the Nazis, they believe that they're going to socialize people. That's why it's called National Socialism. They will say, well, it's got nothing to do with socialism. Okay, they literally believe that they want to socialize people to make sure that what you're thinking is the same thing that I am thinking. Like everyone should think the same. When a company is ran, the company should have equal number of men and women. An equal number of the races that represent the country. So like if your country has like 5% Muslims, your company should have 5% Muslims in it. Everything should be equal. It's called central planning. When you say nobody believes in this, you are ignoring entire nations that structured their entire country to believe in this shit. I mean, again, like you just do not understand the ideologies you're talking about, which is why you don't understand my talking points. Yeah, literally the ideology of the Borg. Like what... The very notion that, like feminists, for example, right? That you can have a woman that speaks on behalf of all women is fundamentally ridiculous. Like, I don't understand what other men believe and how other men think. And to put myself in a position where I get to speak for all men, including just some guy, is ridiculous. The raised fist. Never noticed that this was pushed in Spike of Lee's movies. The whole time was pushing socialism, communism back in the 80s. Yeah, like the red fist is now made into the black fist in the United States. But it is a communist symbol that the left embraces. Like look at the writer's strike right now in Hollywood. And look at the actor's strike as well. They have the black fist. It's a communist symbol. It's literally like having the Nazi salute. But for the other ideology. And he doesn't understand why I keep talking and bringing up communism, and he thinks I'm strawmanning. It's like, no, dude, I was talking about like the ideal of having equality, and you don't understand why I'm talking about Marxism. It's literally the only ideology that believes the ideal is equality. If you want to talk about American ideology, then your ideal should be freedom. And it depends, because right now there is like an ideological civil war going in the United States. You have the ideal of freedom, and then you have diversity, inclusion, and equity. And equity is not equality. But anyway, right, I digress.
What's being argued is that all people should be afforded the same rights and privileges in society and under the law. Everyone has the same...
Yeah, but that's not equality. Like, I'm sorry, that's civic nationalism. It's a completely different ideology.
Intrinsic value, regardless of their sex, race, sexuality, nationality, religion, what have you.
No, I disagree, like, regarding nationality. I don't think, like, non-citizens should have a right to vote. Is that controversial now? Like, can we say this? Yeah, I don't think like non-citizens should have a right to vote. I do think like everything else you said, right? Like people should have the same rights based on sex, gender, blah 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 blah, ethnicity. But like when it comes to different nationality, I would even say that people of different nationality shouldn't own land in your country. I mean, we saw what happens in Australia when you allow people of other nationality to own land. Like you have most of the Australian infrastructure owned by Chinese companies. Like, heaven forbid, you're going to have, like, a conflict in Taiwan, and then you're going to see what's happening in Australia, where the Chinese are going to be like, oh, well, you better stay neutral in this conflict or else. But, like, I don't even know, like, if we... I don't know if he actually understands these shades of gray. But yes, like, there is a reason why your country has borders and why there is a distinction between citizen and non-citizen. So, the right to vote, very important. The right to own land. I don't know, like, if you can do that in the United States. In Romania, for example, if you're not a citizen of the EU or Romania, you can't buy land. But you have, like, this problem in the United Kingdom. Like you have wealthy people from Qatar and even some Chinese people that bought a lot of infrastructure. So they bought entire buildings and they caused the housing market to explode. Because like they're buying the buildings where people could live in, but they're not renting them out, they're not selling them, they're just holding them in the hopes that they're going to create an artificial problem in the market and the value of the building will go up and up and up, and at one point they will sell them. But obviously, like, the people that live there have their lives inconvenienced because the law allows for foreigners to buy property into their country. So yeah, no, like, I don't agree that nationals and non-nationals should have the same right. The sanctuary cities, yeah, I mean, even the people in sanctuary cities are starting to get upset. Like, I saw a clip from the United States. I think it was in Chicago. Like, there were a couple of black folk over there that were very angry because there were a lot of immigrants being dumped there by, I think it was like Texas and Florida. But anyway, right, that's a different talking point.
That's the left's actual argument. I don't see why you...
Yeah, I disagree. Like, you don't see why. Like, the moment you said that people shouldn't be treated different based on nationality. Well, you're arguing for no borders now, which literally means the dissolution of the state, of the nation state as a whole. So that's a communist talking point, by the way. Workers of the world unite, right? It's not workers of America unite, it's the world.
You have a problem with this, but I can see that you burnt your straw man about jobs to a crisp. It's time to move on.
Look at this shit. Look at this atrocity. Look at this horror. Who the fuck wants a Star Trek musical? Look at this. Look. Who wanted this? Who paid for this? And I point out, like, if you believe that everyone has value, then an arsonist should have the same value as a firefighter.
And I'm gonna ask the same thing I asked on Twitter. What the fuck do arsonists and firefighters have to do with this?
I mean, I don't know how to explain it more simply, but when you have a society that believes Kyle Rittenhouse is the problem and the people setting fire to the gas station are the solution, that is a recipe for disaster. I mean, there was a video on Twitter. You had a person which threatened the life of an Uber driver in order to steal his money, right? And then that person was on a highway and he tried to run away from the Uber that he just mugged and jumped off the highway, ended up falling down and breaking his legs. Now, what the Americans were saying in the comment section was like, oh, I hope he's okay. Oh, like that is horrible. I hope he survived. A society that values the safety of the criminal that just threatened the life of another citizen is a society that's inviting disaster. That's what I'm having to say with it. And the only way you can reach this point is through a leftist mindset. No one was wondering, is the Uber driver okay? The Uber driver, you know, like, imagine being an Uber driver. It's a hard job, right? Like, but it's an essential job. You have to get people from one place to another. And you don't make that much money. But people didn't care that he was getting mugged and his life was threatened. People were more interested in what happened with the guy that fell from the highway that was the mugger. And this is not just the only example. I mean, I can go on and on in the American news cycle, and I can show you like how many times they empathize with the criminals rather than empathizing with the people stopping the criminals. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, because it's part of the ideology where everyone should have the same value. I completely disagree. I don't think like a person that's hurting innocent people should have the same value as a person that's getting hurt. Like, I have more compassion for the victims than I have for the criminals. And this is why, you know, like you're saying, well, yeah, but like having the same value is an ideal. Yeah, but I don't want to live in that ideal. I don't want to live in the world where the criminal has the same value as the victim.
Are you suggesting that the quality people you're talking about are criminals versus everyone else?
Yeah, like it's one quality. Yeah, like one aspect of a person's quality is how they behave in society. You have people that know how to behave in society and you have people who don't. That's why we have prisons. Yeah, literally, I am suggesting that. Yes.
Because I get the feeling that next you'll want to tell me all about the Jews.
What the is with his obsession with the Jews? Why does he keep bringing them up? Jesus. Should I call my Jewish friends so we can analyze what you're saying? Because I genuinely do not understand. He keeps bringing them up over and over again. I am willing to bet if I pick my phone right now, I have more Jewish people in my phone than you have. I have one, by the way. I know Halsey. He probably doesn't like Halsey because he's a right-wing Jewish person. Archcast was a blast. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate that. The doublethink of the criminal is actually the victim. Yes.
What a retard ideology. I responded that way because it's a common right-wing tactic to bring up a group nobody likes, to see if someone will defend the...
Why would you assume that the Jews are a group that nobody... What the fuck? Dude, like, look at the Republicans. Israel is our greatest ally and shit. How can you even say that? Oh, I mean, I'm lost for words. I don't even know why you made that assumption. Like, literally, and you're saying that I'm getting my talking points for right-wing Twitter. I can guarantee to you, I can find more leftists that are against Israel than there are right-wingers. I mean, this is why AOC and the squad got in trouble, if you remember. But like, for some reason, it's like right-wing, the Jews, the Jews.
The group, so the conservative can dismiss the argument through guilt by association. And I'm not going to fall for that, so I throw it back at him.
No, let me listen again to what he said. Like, hold on. Like, chat, please explain to me his talking point. Arsonist.
Shut the fuck down.
Value. Right, so I'm saying that in a society, the arsonist and the firefighter shouldn't have the same value. That the arsonist should be locked up and the firefighter should be praised. What he gets from that is...
What the fuck do arsonists and firefighters have to do with this? Are you suggesting that the quality people you're talking about are criminals versus everyone else? Because I get the feeling that next you'll want to tell me all about the Jews. What a retard ideology. I responded that way because it's a common right-wing tactic to bring up a group nobody likes, to see if someone will defend the group, so the conservative can dismiss the argument.
You would think that if that was my tactic, at least I would bring, I don't know, like, the San Francisco choir and look at some of the rap sheets that are there, you know? Like, if I wanted to do that, I would have brought the director of Netflix Scooties, or, you know, like... For some reason, you felt the need of mentioning the Jews. Why? I didn't bring them up. I don't even talk about that on my Twitter at all. The only time I talk about the Jews is when, can you tell me when Halsey is coming online? Because I want to talk to him. That's literally it. Holy shit.
Through guilt by association, and I'm not going to fall for that, so I throw it back at him. If you're arguing that some people are better than others, there's only one place that goes.
But some people are de facto better than... You're better than other people at analyzing Lord of the Rings. Like, what the fuck do you want me to do? Like, ignore reality? Some people are better at lifting weights than others. Like, it's true. Like, do I pretend it's not? Like, if people aren't better than others, then what's the point in having resumes? What's the point in dating? I mean, if all the people are the same, just pick the first one.
And I'm going to call you out on that. I know you won't like it. That's why I did it.
It's not that I don't like it. I just find it bizarre. It's just, like, weird. It's like saying, you need oxygen to breathe. And you have, like, a person on Twitter, like, the Jews. Like, what the fuck? I didn't say that. No, but, like, oh, the gas chambers. And it's like, no, dude, I just said you need oxygen to breathe. Like, what the fuck? No, that's not what I'm saying. Just some guy. I'm not talking about, like, the people who do not have value. That bad things should be happening to them.
That's not what I asked you. Again, I realize I'm not as...
Yeah, but like, you asked me a loaded question. It's like me asking, like, why do you beat your wife? You know, it's... Like, I'm getting... Like, I'm not an idiot. I know what you're trying to do. And it's on Twitter. It has been done before. Right? Like, you just go to someone and you ask them a loaded question to insinuate that the person is a Nazi. That's what you're trying to do. And I just found it bizarre. Like, why are you doing this?
fluent in English as you. So I'll repeat.
No, it's okay. Like, we're both not good at English, I understand. Look, it's my second language. I'm doing my best. I know a little bit of German as well. Oh my god, is this why he thinks I'm a Nazi? Because I learned a little bit of German?
Repeat the question, and I'll make it as monosyllabic as possible. Are you talking about folks who do bad things versus folks who do good things? Is that what you mean by quality?
Yes, it's one aspect of it. It's not what I'm talking about, but it's like one aspect of it. Yes, you can judge a person of their value they bring to society if they commit crime or not. This is a fact. Like, it's not in the ideal world or anything. Like, this is why we have prisons. Like, some people do bad things, and therefore their human rights are being stripped as they're being locked up. Like, you take away their right of liberty and freedom. You put them in a prison so they don't hurt other people. Yes. And when I say this, you bring up the Jews. I do not know why. It's bizarre. Please stop.
Because it certainly doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you were talking about people's quality, value, or worth as human beings.
No, you're going to ethnicity and race. I never mentioned that. But anyway, man, whatever.
When I called you on it, you didn't have a good response because on Twitter, you used to just getting blown by pedocons. So you tried to deflect with this nonsense about...
What the fuck is a pedocon? Is this like a new thing? Chat, tell me what is a pedocon. I never heard about this. Like a conservative that's a pedophile? Like, is this what he's talking about? Hello, Aldo. I don't know what that is. It's more projection? Like, I don't know, but like, what is it? A pedo convention? Is that what a pedocon is? No, like, ironically, I do not know what it is. Like, I genuinely, like, he used an insult on it. It's like, you know, when you insult someone, and that person just doesn't understand that you've insulted them, but they feel insulted nonetheless. I know it's a liberal slang. But, like, what does it mean? Footlover? No, I don't think it's a footlover. He means lolicon? Why would he say that? It doesn't make sense in the actual conversation. Is he making up words? No, I'm pretty sure it means something. Hold on, I'm going to look. I'm going to Google it. What is pedocon? Urban Dictionary. A portmanteau of pedophile and conservative used to refer to a member of the Republican Party. Motherfucker! I'm from Romania. We don't have the Republican Party here. But like, he talks about the fact that my ideology is giving brain rot, and he's using like these esoteric words that even I, who go on lefty Twitter, never heard of them before. Like, not even on Reddit. I've never heard of this type of slang. And he's like, oh, well, you're using words that you heard on lefty Twitter.
Arsonists and firefighters. You're trying so hard to be clever that you're just tripping right into stupid.
Like, what I am saying is that you should be able to create systems that helps people raise their value, and they should be encouraged, and the people... Is this like a bad thing that I'm having here? Like, am I not making sense that you should create systems that help people raise value? I'm literally talking about public education. Or like spending taxes so that people can go to the gym. There are many European nations that do this. Is it? Clearly I'm being a Nazi, aren't I? With high value should be used as examples for others. Yeah, like for example, Albert Einstein is a person of high value, and you have pictures of him every fucking where. You know, if you go to a university, you have statues of the previous professors that went there and invented shit. Is this a Nazi ideology? Well, let's hear what just some guy has to say. I'm actually curious.
That has nothing to do with the left believing in equality versus the...
Like, literally it does. They will go to a university, and they have done this both in South Africa, and they have done it in other places, and they will remove paintings and statues of people just because they're not the correct race. And they will say like, oh, well, actually, we need to celebrate more diversity, and they will bring up other statues and remove the ones that are there. Like, it has everything to do with it. I mean, you even look at video games and movies. Like they will try to marginalize J.K. Rowling just because they disagree with her. Even though they like doing business with her and making money off of her, they will like disavow and just remove her. When she previously was given as an example for young women to follow. It's like, look, if you like writing, you one day you can be like J.K. Rowling and stuff. Like, look how inspiring she is. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It has literally everything to do with what I was saying.
The right belief in inequality and is a complete contradiction of your argument about professions. Ironically, what you said, minus idiocy about people's value, is the left's general position. Give everyone the same or equal opportunities and look to those who've achieved success as a potential method for doing the same.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not what the left is saying. Like, you can't have this. Like, give everyone the same opportunity, but let's have affirmative action, which was stripped down by the Supreme Court, and the left was freaking out. You're literally espousing the right-wing views here. Like, the people that stormed the Normandy beaches, those are the values you're espousing. Those people were right-wing, by the way. But well, at least from our point of view. Right? Like, if you listen to what they had to say on environmentalism, on trans rights, on gay marriage, you would consider them right-wing as fuck. But what I'm trying to explain is that the left doesn't believe in this shit. They do not believe that everyone should have the same opportunities. Literally, they don't. Like, when you go to a university and you have, like, the same score as another person and you happen to be Asian, the other person happens to be black, and they're like, well, you have the same score, but because we have affirmative action, you don't get, this guy gets. Especially, like, can you imagine how upsetting it would be if they have, like, a lower score than you? Like, imagine going to a job, right? And they would be like, well, you are the best fit for the job. However, like, we want to promote immigrants. So, this guy, he's not as fit as you. But because of our equity and inclusivity programs, we're going to hire them. We're going to hire this immigrant woman instead. And we're going to disconsider you even though you have worked hard to get here. We just don't care. Right? This is what the left does. Like, I'm sorry if you don't believe it. I'm sorry if, like, you have a different version of leftism in your head. If you believe that things are differently, or you're defending an ideology that doesn't exist and only you and a couple of other people believe in it. But this is not the ideology I'm criticizing. Like, if leftism was what just some guy is saying and espousing here, I would have literally no problem with it. I would be like, yeah, sure. You know, like, this side, great. But unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not like what you're describing. What you're describing is the only thing that you believe.
Had you not been so busy strawmanning about the left, you might have noticed that. But I guess it'd be hard to see anything surrounded by those rectal walls.
Just some guy always does this. You'll say drag shows should be adults only, and he'll say, so you want LGBT to die? I don't think that's his take. Come on, that's a little bit disingenuous. Did he actually say that?
Which also explains why you started talking shit about public health care and fat people, which has fuck all to do with equality versus quality.
Is he talking about my stream on Archcast? Is he following me around now? Did he get imprinted on me? I don't know. Like, that would be cute. But, no, like, if you want to talk about public healthcare, yeah, I mean, it bothers me, for example, living in a country where we have public healthcare, that every time I actually do need healthcare, I need to go to the private sector. And yet I pay fuckloads of taxes for the healthcare. Yeah, it bothers me. You know why it's happening? Corruption. Right, but like, I wonder if you want to have a conversation about that, or just assume that I'm just like some right-wing Republican from the US. So yeah, it really bothers me that I pay monthly for healthcare I don't need, and when I actually do need the healthcare, I don't get it, and I have to go to the private sector. Yeah, I don't agree that if a person manages to drink himself into a cirrhosis, that my taxpayer money should actually be given for him to get a liver transplant. So, like, his bad decisions are costing me financially. Yeah, I don't think that's fair. You know, I'm sorry. I think, like, people should be responsible. And I actually think that less people would have cirrhosis if they were responsible for their stuff. Like if they knew, okay, if I drink myself into liver damage, into liver disease, then I would have the money to go to a hospital. So it's better if I don't. But when people think that the safety net is there and they think, oh, well, if I get liver damage, I'll go to the hospital and they'll treat me anyway, they're more likely to do it. I legitimately know people because I worked at the hospital and they literally said this. Like they said, it's like, well, you're just here to patch me up. Like this mind fucked me when I first heard it because I was under the impression that most people care about their health. But no. Apparently, when you have a public healthcare system, there are people who legitimately believe it's like, oh, if I get sick, the doctors will just patch me up and that's it. What can you say to such a person? What arguments can you even make? But anyway, right, so that's my take on public healthcare and fat people.
You are going off on such a multiverse of tangents. It's like Ezra Miller is running laps in your head. And
who's Ezra Miller? Oh, it's the Flash guy. Marvel movies! Wait, no, my bad. That's DC. See? Oh, I almost made the mistake. Okay, right. So World War II and Marvel movies. But you know what? I will consider myself boomer enough to not know the difference. So he talked about World War II, brought the Jews, and now we're talking about the Flash. Like literally, this is Twitter. Like, this man is the embodiment of the platform. Thank you for the super chat. I thought the comic strip with the three people of different heights trying to see over the fence to see the baseball game for free is the left-wing view. Like, literally, it is.
And this goes on for 4 minutes until the end of the video.
Dude, you made a video for 20 minutes and I made it for an hour. I'm curious if you're going to make a video response for this and it's going to be 3 hours. Like, are we going on 3? If you do the 3 hours, I will have to get Arch. I'll have to get Dev. I'll have to get Sar. And we're going to go for 6 hours. Let's see if we can push it through. Let's break the internet.
Wow. V's video is a perfect example of what happens when a former edgelord switches sides and then gets...
Was I an edgelord though? Like, what was I really an edgelord? Like, did I say things that are so fucking edgy? Compared to what? Like, I don't think my channel was edgelordy. Like, I don't think I was, like, at Metacurse level, Like, why would you consider me an edgelord? And switched sides. Like, what side was I on, and where did I switch?
Stuck in a new echo chamber. He's still doing it for the lulz, and as many right-wing ideologues like him have found out.
I literally did do it for the lulz. Like, if this is what you mean that I switched, yes, like, I try to entertain people. Like, it's literally what my job is. Like, I'm an entertainer. I try to make people laugh. Is this a bad thing, though? Like, should I start a political movement or some shit? Like, dude, we're YouTubers. Like, both you and I, right? Like, if you're not doing this for entertainment, why are you doing it?
I don't make a very fun target, because I'm willing to hitch a punk ass's back. So they try to get what they can and then run off to have docking sessions where they can get off calling me names like I told them they do back when I started my channel.
I never called you a name. I never called him names. Did I call him names? I didn't call him names. I don't want to call you names. I mean, I could come up with a couple. Some of them can be quite hilarious, but I don't want to do it. Like, I see people call you names. Not nice.
Like I said before, I have the dumbest Saturday morning cartoon enemies, and B's response is further...
Not even your enemy, dude. This is like a Twitter disagreement. What the fuck? Do you have, like, main character syndrome? It's like, oh, well, do you have, like, the rogue gallery and shit? That's interesting.
Further proof of this, and I've got to say, I'm a little insulted. I'm not asking for a Nizen Sosuke or a Frieza or a Magneto, but damn, can a nigga get a Mumra in this bit?
Magneto! That right there! Magneto! Marvel movies! There we go! Oh, I was wondering where it will come up. Right. It's got 13,000 views and only 1,000 likes. It's probably not good. He answers with logic and arguments. You, on the other hand, use slurs and insults to make a point. This is on his... Yeah, I don't think like I tried to insult him. If you're not even going to try to understand what he's saying, why respond? Do you really think you're not supposed to respond to me? How dare you? Is a good look for you. Like, literally, his first argument was like, I'm not trying to respond to you because I was quote tweeting you. And I'm like, why would you quote tweet? Like, dude, we're content creators. Like, there's people that are going to show me your quote tweet. Like, English is hardly his first language, but he's using equality to refer directly to the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. And yes, communism, they are married to little closely. I mean, okay, so the reason I looked at his comment section is because I wanted to see if people agreed with me. Sorry, not if people agreed with me. If people understood what I was trying to say. It seems that most people did understand what I was trying to say. So it's not like this is a language barrier or something like that. I'm here specifically to leave the USA bubble. But the USA bubble is kind of nice. I am like Thanos. God. Magneto is a double whammy. Marvel character and Holocaust survivor. That is such a good take. Holy shit. I'm actually surprised I missed it. Yeah, so like World War II references. If you want to go with World War II references and Marvel movies, you go with Magneto. That is great. The day V quote tweeted you was the day your entire career was. I don't think like I'm really. Dude, I don't want to ruin his career. Jesus fucking Christ, people are so mean. Let me see Social Blade. Like, I'm literally not interested in doing any of this. It's just like I thought it's fun to respond to this. I mean, look. God. I don't even know why he does this to himself. Like, I will tell you why this is in the red. It's because of the insult. Like, had he just made a video where he's, like, addressing the points and not using, like, ad hominems every 2 seconds, I don't feel like this would... We have the same audience. I can see what you guys go and what you watch. We share a lot of audience. Jesus. It is what it is. If he misses the old YouTube response videos, I do. He's doing that himself. I didn't, like, make him respond to me on Twitter. I didn't make him make a YouTube video at me. I didn't ask him to insult me. Like, it's just like, whatever. He used to be reasonable. But it's kind of like... It's not like even like he's a left-leaning person. Because you can be a left-leaning person and people can still respect you. It's like... When you go to an individual and you're like, oh, so you're a right-winger? Oh, you must be a Nazi then. Oh, so you think like people have different value? Oh, so you want to start off the camps. It's like, no. For what it's worth, I am entertained. Well, I'm glad. Remember, you're his enemy by his words. That's another bizarre thing. Like why would you... So like, everyone that criticizes you on the internet or disagrees with you is an enemy? Like, that is another hot take. I mean, if that was the case, I would... Like, legit, if I saw him on the street, I would buy him beer. Not ironically. Like, I have no beef with him. I do not feel any ill intent, any bad blood with him. It's like, okay, he's a left-leaning person, does content creation. That's great. I'm surprised you're wasting your time on this guy. He's basically level easy mode lefty, or at least his arguments are. I mean, like, dude, he's accusing me of, like, getting my talking points from right-wing Twitter, and he comes up with this pedocon shit. It's like, what the fuck is that? I had to actually Google it and look at the Urban Dictionary to see what it means. Then talks about, like, the Catholic Church and the priests, and I'm like, what the fuck? Will I buy you a beer if I see you? Yes. Unironically, like, if I am out on the street and someone recognizes me and you're like, are you V? Are you, like, the content creator? And I'll be like, yeah. And if they're, like, friendly, yeah, sure, I'll buy them a beer. Assuming I have time and I'm not in a rush. But like there was this guy I met on the streets of London, and he was coming from, I think he was coming from France, visited some friends, and we met at the subway. So I actually did travel with him with a tube, as the London people called him, and then I bought him a donut. I got myself a donut, and I bought him as well. Turns out he was a fan. I mean, I think that's like the friendly thing to do, right? Now, obviously, if I were to meet 80 of you, like I walk on the street and then there's 80 people, well, I don't think I would be able to buy you all a donut. I don't think I would have the money. But still, if it's just one of you or two of you, maybe even three, we're stretching it, but I would. Natürlich, I'd get this Deutsche Bier, richtig? Yeah, I would definitely buy you a beer. Just some leftists decided to do the thing. Just some leftists decided to do the thing leftists always do when they argue with someone online. Ignore their arguments, build a straw man, and then claim that you're straw manning their argument. I don't think like he built a straw man on purpose. I genuinely think he doesn't understand politics. He doesn't understand the ideology, but wants to get into that sphere. Like this is the thing that I believe he is doing, right? So he doesn't understand what the ideologies that he is arguing against are, but he is arguing against them with conviction. It's kind of like when you're a Christian and you're surrounded by other evangelicals, but you never read the Bible or go to church. So you have like a view about Christianity. You get like a vibe about what the religion is and what you're supposed to do, but you're never going to actually do it. Right? So when you're arguing to defend Christianity, you're unaware of the arguments that are being made within that religion. I think that's what he does. He's behind in his ideology. Yeah, like literally he was saying right-wing talking points and saying that this is what the left believes. No. Like the Democratic Party does not believe in the stuff that you're saying. What does Orthodox Romania have to do with the Catholic Church? I will assume that he doesn't know that Romania is Orthodox Christian. But even then, like, I didn't even went that route. My point was that I don't know a single Catholic that was supporting the church when it was revealed that its priests were molesting boys. Like, I don't think, like, there was a single person that was like, well, actually, can we talk about something else? Or try to deflect and say, yes, but, like, the left is blah, blah, blah. No, like, literally everyone that I know, every single person, right wing, left wing, were horrified, and they were like, well, I hope these priests end up in prison. Without exception. It's also funny. It's like I say, people on Twitter keep saying World War II and Marvel movies, and he says he didn't watch a Marvel movie. And then he mentions Magneto, and he mentions Ezra Miller. Now, I understand that Ezra Miller is DC movie, so that's different. Magneto, maybe he read the comics and didn't watch the movie. So, technically, he can still be right. Anyway, right, I should actually go and make another video on my secondary channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live stream. If you enjoyed the live stream, I live stream every day. I do try to be entertaining. You can catch me on the Archcast as well. And that's the place where I argue with Dev, right? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Oh, by the way, before I go. I make a video game and I want to hire some people. If you are good with After Effects, if you are good with Live 2D, contact me. I may have a job for you. So After Effects and Live 2D, you can contact me on Twitter. I give you money. I give you cash. Okay? So it's not, you're not doing it for free. You are going to get financial compensation. But you have to be good. Right? So if you're a rigger, I need to be very careful how I say this because YouTube doesn't always understand Romanian, and they may think that I'd say something else. No, hard R, but at the beginning, right? So rigger, a person that rigs VTube avatars using the Live 2D technology. If you know how to do that, contact. I may have a job for you. If you know how to use After Effects, also contact. Oh, by the way, my editor is Jewish. I should tell that to just some guy. See, I have 2 Jewish friends. I even employ one of them. I think I know more Jewish people than just some guy. Of course, maybe he does know more than I do. I mean, I don't know only 2. I used to know 3. There was another one, Skeptor, but I lost communications with him. I don't know what happened. I think it was since the pandemic. I haven't spoken. So, anyway, right. See you guys in the comment section. Take care.